Hello, and thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of Stories of Great Christians. Today we're listening to Chapter 5 of 12 from George W. Truett, a Southern Baptist preacher from the last century who was a mountain kid, and God had different designs, but God didn't. God knew who he called, and it was a good call. Well, without further ado, don't need to be listening to me. Take a listen to what the story's about.
We greet our friends everywhere with Chapter 5 of Forced to Preach, the life story of George W. Truett. This is another in the series Stories of Great Christians, and is brought to you by the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago.
It was true, all right. My George was forced to preach, or at least forced to ask himself honestly if God was calling him to the ministry. In the early fall of 1890, George's church, the Little Baptist Church in Whitewright, Texas, called a special meeting, and then and there exhorted and prayed and pled with George right in public to be ordained within 24 hours. The next day he walked into that Baptist church and let the ordaining council lay their hands on his head and deliver him into a lifetime of preaching ministry for God. That was in the early fall. In the late fall, something else happened. Dr. Carroll, president of Baylor University, wrote to George, asking him to meet him at a missionary conference in McKinney. George went to McKinney, and after the meeting, a man with a black beard came up to him.
Truett, I'm Dr. Carroll.
How do you do, sir?
Brother Truett, you're to go with me to Mr. Couch's home. We'll have a room together and talk at length about a very important matter.
Yes, sir.
Comfortable room, I'd say.
Yes, it is.
It needs to be. Our discussion may take several days.
Sir, did you want to see me as a prospective student?
No, never recruit students myself. I wanted to talk to you about a huge deficit. It wasn't huge, $92,000. We need a new financial agent, a man who will help recruit finances for us. And, you've been suggested.
I've been suggesting finances?
You heard about your strong plea for Christian education.
My strong plea for...
In Georgia, mountain schools. You're a man, I'm certain.
But Dr. Carroll, you don't know anything about me. I'm only 23 years old. I don't have a college education. I'm from the hills and the farm.
When you talk, men, do what you say. That's what your letter of recommendation said. From a very reliable source.
But sir, did that source tell you I've just been ordained to the ministry?
Certainly.
I'm called to preach.
Your what?
Called to preach.
Then I misunderstood.
Well, I thought so.
I understood you'd been called to full-time ministry in God's kingdom.
Well, yes, of course, but...
Truett, God's kingdom needs Christian schools.
I know
If
that,
we're to
sir.
have well-educated Christians. Now, we do that educated at Baylor. But Baylor can't go on if it doesn't have the money, you see.
Well, I see what you want me to see, but I don't know.
How long do you think this campaign will last?
I've no idea.
2 years at the most. After that, your job as financial agent's over. Then you can go on with your preaching.
You're thinking of this with Baylor as a detour?
Nothing of the kind. I'm thinking of it as God's will for you. We need you desperately. Now, God put it in somebody's mind to tell us about you. The rest's up to you, but I think you will see it my way.
Dr. Carroll, I am giving serious consideration to your proposal that I join the staff of Baylor University as financial agent. I am beginning to see that God's hand may be in this.
leaving for Waco so that you can meet the Baylor trustees.
Dear Dr. Carroll, my plans for the Waco trip must be canceled. I have just come down with a severe case of measles, quarantined for 3 weeks. I'm not sure now how God is leading.
George, you made it.
Afraid all the way if God didn't want me at Waco, he'd stop the train.
But he didn't. And you survived the measles.
I wasn't sure I was going to, sir.
Yeah, the trustees are waiting in my office. We'll go right in. Nervous?
I'm scared.
Good. I'd worry if you were. Let's go in.
Is that the fellow Carroll wants to hire?
Dr. Carroll must have taken leave of his senses. If that young chap's to be our reliance, then Baylor's doomed.
He's just a youngster.
Gentlemen, this is the Reverend George Truett. We've talked about him at earlier meetings. Now you can question him. George, these are Baylor's trustees. You'll get to know them as individuals later on.
Frankly, Dr. Carroll, I feel you played a very poor joke on us.
What? Judge Jenkins, I don't understand.
If you don't, Dr. Carroll, perhaps you will on reflection. And you will have ample time for that, for I'm leaving this meeting right now.
I agree. He's just a boy.
Wait a minute.
Gentlemen,
Wait a minute. I've traveled 150 miles to come here. You have to hear what I've got to say.
He's got a good, forceful voice, I'll say that.
I didn't ask for this job. You're no more amazed that I'm here than I am. I'm utterly inexperienced in this kind of thing. I admit it.
Truett, now, no need to belittle yourself and my judgment.
I'm young, 23. I've hardly any college education. But your Dr. Carroll has tried to convince me it's the Lord's will for me to try this fundraising job.
Well, I know this man's record. So do you. I've shared it with
Gentlemen, I'm convinced it is the Lord's will. If it is, he'll bring the campaign success. Shall we pray? Right now, for me, and for the success of the campaign, no matter who leads it.
Brother Truett, I want to apologize for my ill manners.
I accept that apology, Judge Jenkins.
I don't know when I've been so wrong in a first impression. I'd like you to have dinner with me and my family tonight. I'd like to know you a little better.
Well, all's well that ends well, George. The way, I want to show you my library. Whenever you're away, Thor, you'll make my home your home.
Thank you, Dr. Carroll, but I can't look at the library now. Judge Jenkins asked me over for supper.
Oh, well, then you better hurry. And be careful, George.
Why?
The judge has 4 daughters.
Well, Josephine,
Well, Daddy?
what did you think of him?
Who?
Our guest, George Truett, the new financial agent for Baylor.
Oh, it's all right, I guess. Fine boy, simple. Quite a little aspect.
Oh, now, Josie, isn't any of that. He completely won over the trustees this afternoon. And we were ready to walk out on him before he began.
What am I supposed to do, Father? Run after him as though he was something special? Frankly, I was highly impressed.
Of course, you know what I'm here for. To speak about the needs of Baylor University. You know of our financial predicament. We need $92,000. We've got to end this campaign with a completely clean slate with the elimination of every single debt. No, Dr. Carroll, the offering was terrible. Almost nothing. How do I pour out my soul that...
I don't understand, George. You believe in Baylor yourself. The ring of sincerity is in your voice.
Of course I believe in Baylor. You mean I haven't convinced folk I believe what I'm saying?
I don't know. You've convinced me. way, some way. That's what people respond.
I wish I knew what they respond to. And if I don't find out soon that the campaign's sunk and I've sunk it. Oh, God, I've committed myself to this thing. Don't let me down. If I'm lacking in anything, tell me so I can pray it through and... God, I know I haven't believed it. Not enough to give. All right, God. I'll take every last cent out of the bank, my education fund, and put it right into the Baylor debt.
There's a check for $500 on the plate this morning.
Who gave it?
No. $500 going to Baylor. My.
Well, this isn't very much, Mr. Truett, but it's a ring my grandmother gave me. Maybe it'll help. I want to do something.
God bless you, ma'am.
Glad you urged me to go on with this service, Brother Truett. Rainy night or not, and this is the smallest crowd I've ever seen in this church. It's still the largest special offering we've ever had.
Gentlemen, I'm glad to state that Baylor has a financial agent who's doing a first-rate job. Our campaign will be a success.
Dear Miss Jenkins, I will be returning to Waco on campaign business next Saturday. As yet, I have not heard from you, but assuming I have your permission, I will call on you this next Saturday. Josephine.
Just a minute, Mr. Truett. I don't believe I've ever said you could call me Josephine.
But we've known each other for over a year now. I've seen you at least several times. We've corresponded, or at least I have.
Very weak argument, and still does not entitle you to be familiar. Remember that, Mr. Truett.
Troubles, George?
But they're personal, sir.
Well, cheer up, George. The campaign's almost over.
What?
We're only $800 short of our goals, and only 23 months have passed. Why, we're a month ahead of ourselves.
God has been very good to us.
Now, I know 3 men who give me $100 each. Do you know where you can get $500? That would finish it up.
I think I do. The man is ill, but I'll see him anyway.
Mr. Truett, let me congratulate you. You knew I could have given the entire amount of indebtedness.
Yes, I know.
But I wanted the university to solve its own problems. Besides, I also believe that churches should feel the responsibility of their schools. Hand me my checkbook.
Here you are, sir.
Be right in the amount. Here you are, Mr. Truett.
Here's my $300, George.
Here's my $500. It's over. Thank the Lord.
$92,000 in 23 months. And the Lord's blessed us. Well, George, what are your plans? You worked yourself out of a job, you know.
Well, the truth is, Dr. Carroll, I do have plans. I've talked so much about Baylor. I've talked myself into coming here to study.
We've brought you Chapter 5 of Forced to Preach, the story of George W. Truett. This has been another in the series Stories of Great Christians, transcribed from the radio studios of the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago.
Well, the next chapter should be pretty darn interesting, shouldn't they? Seems like his future wife is not all that kind to him, kind of keeping him on his back heels. Well, Lord has a way, not only getting to the heart of man, but also to the head and heart of woman. So, next week, Lord willing, Lord keeping me around, Lord keeping you around, perhaps we once again can listen to stories of great Christians together. And in the meantime, don't forget, pull up a chair, invite a friend, give him a cup of Joe or something, or whatever you like to get him, and maybe make him lunch or dinner, and listen together, as well as comment. And if you need prayer, let us know. We'll pray for you. And in the meantime, like I say, Lord willing and Lord tarrying, and I look forward to seeing you again for another story of great Christians. Till then, God bless, have a great day, and keep sharing Jesus.